became a monk. Took it one step further. In 1507, I became an ordained priest. And I celebrated my first Mass. By this time, my father had reconciled himself to the fact that I was not going to become a lawyer. And he, in fact, showed up and took the sacrament from me when I celebrated the first Mass. During this time, also, I was continuing my schooling, and I was enrolled at the University of Erfurt in a program that would get me my master's degree and eventually my doctorate. My doctorate in moral philosophy and biblical languages. After my completion of that degree in 1512, I taught briefly at the University of Erfurt, but spent the rest of my life associated with the University of Wittenberg from 1512 onward to the time of my death in 1546. Now, I should point out at this point that if I were to fill out job applications like you sometimes have to, and what is your profession? The first thing I would always put down would be pastor. Because all of those years in Wittenberg, from 1512 on, my primary vocation, my first calling, was as the pastor of the Castle Church in Wittenberg. As my primary calling. I preached regularly, I took care of the people. I was what in German you would call a Seelsorger. I did my very best. Someone who watches out for human souls. Someone who nurtures and cares and shepherds. In addition to that, of course, I lectured regularly at the university. I did a whole bunch of writing. I waged a constant battle with the powers that be in the Roman Catholic Church. At this time, I was still a rather devout Roman Catholic, although a number of things happened which really opened my eyes to what was going on. In 1511, a colleague and I were chosen to go on an expedition, I guess you would call it, to visit Rome on behalf of the Augustinian order. And when we got to Rome, we were absolutely appalled. Absolutely appalled with what we saw going on there. Open prostitution in front of St. Peter's Cathedral. Priests who were obviously living very profligate lives, wasting the widow's mites that people were contributing to the church. As a part of my penance, I climbed the Sancta Scala, the big steps up to the Holy Shrine in Rome, on my knees till they were bloody. All of which I hoped would help me find favor with God. But then, I also kept running across a passage that I was reading as I was coming in. We therefore conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. By faith without the deeds of the law. I cannot buy my way into heaven. So then the question arises, well, what about all this Old Testament stuff, those laws, those rules, the commandments? Another passage struck me. Abraham believed in the Lord, and that was counted to him as righteousness. Not his keeping the commandments, not his circumcising his son, not his doing all the rituals and sacrifices, but Abraham believed in the Lord. And that was counted to him as righteousness. There are a number of other things happened. Some of you may have heard of the name of a man called Johann Tetzel, T-E-T-Z-E-L, the great villain of the Reformation. John Tetzel was a member of the Dominican order, a big rival to the Augustinians. I think it used to be something like, what, New Texas and A&M or something like that. People who hate the sight of each other. Not really. I know some people who had sons and daughters going there. Anyway, to both places. But Tetzel was here selling indulgences. Now, you have to understand about indulgences. Roman Catholic doctrine says that when you die, you first have to go through a period of purging in a place called purgatory. Purgatory means cleansing. You're a trial by fire. You never know how long it's going to be till you get out of there. So you spend your lifetime having your friends say masses for the dead in hope that they can shorten that. Anyway, Tetzel was selling indulgences. And here was his selling point. Wenn das Geld im Kasten klingt, die Seele aus dem Fegefeuer springt. The minute your money hits this casket, your money, your soul is jumping out of purgatory. The minute Your money hits the casket. Your soul jumps out of purgatory. Good deal, right? I think we play a game called Monopoly. It's called Get Out of Jail Free. That's exactly what it was. So people were coming to confession carrying these slips of paper that said, hey, this has been paid. Totally misinterpreting what this was all about. Now, the other problem with all of this is that Tetzel was doing this with the permission and encouragement of the Archbishop of Mainz, who was raising money in order that he might buy 3 more church bishoprics. In these days, you did not have to be a churchman to be a bishop. It was a purely political event, which you oftentimes did simply by buying, which explains also part why the richest landowner in all of these times was the Roman Catholic Church. They owned vast amounts of property. And my objection to Tetzel selling indulgences, of course, was cutting into the profit margin. So the Archbishop was also after my skin. Well, all of this then led finally to my posting on the door of the Catholic Church at Winchester, that famous set of challenges called the 95 Theses. The 95 Theses. The purpose of my posting them was not to start a new church. They were merely posted in order to have some debate about some issues that I felt were going very badly wrong in the Roman Catholic Church. The other thing going on here is that a man named Gutenberg had just invented movable type. Ironically, the first thing that he printed were versions of the Vulgate, the Latin Bible. Matter of fact, if you want to see one of the original ones right down the road at the Ransom Center at the Big Orange Place in Texas, they have one of the original Gutenberg Bibles printed at this time. The offshoot of this was that when I printed or posted those 95 Theses, the very next day they were in print. And they struck a chord throughout Central Europe. People who were fed up with what was going on with the church in which they grew up. Again, let me remind you, the purpose for posting the thesis was not to start a new church. Now you may wonder why I chose the evening of October 31st. It was All Hallows Eve, the Eve of All Saints. It's a day that I guess has now been desecrated by urchins running around begging for candy. The original was one of the great festival days of the church year. The Eve of All Saints, the next day, November 1st, is All Saints' Day. Now I must also remind you that in these days people took saints very carefully and very thoughtfully, because my name is Martin because I was baptized on the day of St. Martin of Tours, November 11th, the day after my birth. Also, people didn't wait around to baptize kids in those days. The next Sunday, you were in church. You were in church to be baptized, if at all possible. Anyway, that's why my name is Martin. Had it been more than some other saints' day, it would have been something else. So, but All Saints' Eve was the major festival, and if you want to call it, party day of the year. Everybody came to town in commemoration of the Eve of All Saints. And the door of the Castle Church served as the town bulletin board. For those of you who go to small towns, you probably have some heard of it also. The local grocery stores, especially the Super S's and the smaller ones, will have a bulletin board right out there in the lobby, which has auctions and lost dogs and cars for sale and everything else that you ever wanted to know, and probably a whole lot more than you wanted to know about what's all going on in your community. If you want to get the word out quickly, you post it on that bulletin board, and here we go. So I knew that this would be a place that would get people's attention, and people would look. Anyway, this made a lot of people very unhappy, including the papal hierarchy. In all of this, I had the full support of the faculty of the University of Wittenberg. They were on my side in this whole thing. And the electorate of Saxony was also on my side. Now, for those of you who are curious about why they are called electors, the name for all the princes and stuff, these are the folks who helped elect the Roman emperor, called Charles V, when he became the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, he needed the votes of all these electors in order to get the job. So therefore, church and politics and everything else intermingles, crosses over, whatever way. Anyway, this whole thing reached a head in 1520, when the Pope issued a papal bull, which is a letter of condemnation, beginning with the words, Exorge Domini. Root out, O Lord, this vile animal who has invaded your holy garden and has uprooted the ancient teachings of the church. Those are the kind of words. It was big time. They were after my skin. Well, the faculty at Wittenberg got together. We had a big bonfire. We burned the bull. And then, just for good measure, we also burned all of the canons and decrees of the Council of Trent, which had been the work that the church had used for years and years and years to support their doctrine. All of this, of course, culminated then in the famous Diet of Worms in 1521, where the powers that be wanted me, the word is recant, to take back my teachings, everything that I had said and done, and say that I'm wrong, so on and so forth. And my response to that finally was, und solange ein Gewissen durch die Werke Gottes gefangen ist, kann und will ich nichts widerrufen, weil es unsicher ist und die Seligkeit bedingt, etwas gegen das Gewissen zu tun. Gott helfe mir. Amen. And as long as my conscience is bound and held captive by the Word of God, I will not recant, because that is precarious and endangers my salvation. If I do anything against my conscience, so help me God. Amen. The response was predictable. Immediately from the crowd came the words, ins Feuer, Mini, into the fire, burn him at the stake. The Elector of Saxony then rescued me and sequestered me for about 6 months at the Wartburg, which was really a blessing in disguise because it gave me time to recoup and also gave me time to translate the Bible, the New Testament, into German. A job which I completed finally in 1534 when I translated the whole Bible. What's interesting about that is that my translation of the Bible into German is the one that is still used in German-speaking churches around the world. Look at what happened to the King James Version in all those years. Wags up there tell me that it has something to do with how often Germans change their mind about anything. May or may not be so. Also, a couple other things that mentioned. In 1523, the Elector of Saxony rescued a number of nuns from one of the convents. One of them was named Catherine from Bora. We hit it off in 1525. We got married. A very happy home life, 6 children, 4 of whom survived into adulthood. Another significant body of writing was back in 1520, which kind of set the tone for the rest of my life. One was on the Christian nobility, in which I argued against 3 very, very basic tenets of the Roman Catholic Church. One is that the church was supreme in everything, that the church